Let's discuss this now with Colin Harding. He's a Latin America analyst and the director of Latin Forum and joins us from Manchester in the UK. Colin, good to have you on this news hour. So were there any signs that an attempted coup was even possible? What were the factors that would have led to something like this?
Well, it's not entirely clear that this was really an attempted coup. I think a lot of the elements in the situation are still very unclear. But one interesting point is that General Zuniga claims that on Sunday, when he was still commander of the armed forces, he was summoned by President Arce, who told him the situation is very messed up. I mean, we've heard about the economic problems in Bolivia, and that he needed them to do something which would raise his popularity. A couple of days later, Zuniga is sacked, and the day after that is this attempted takeover of the presidential palace, followed by a very public confrontation between Arce and Zuniga, in which the president told him to go back to his barracks to obey the orders of the commander-in-chief, and he said he couldn't do that because he wanted to make clear the unhappiness in the armed forces of the situation. What we do know is that Zuniga is an enemy of ex-President Morales, Evo Morales, who was president from 2005 to 2019 in the same movement as President Arce, but as we've heard, it's very divided into factions. What seems to have tipped Zuniga over the edge, if that's what happened, is the suggestion that Morales will try and stand for another term in elections next year, and he made very clear that he couldn't permit that.
Yeah, it seems that there are so many unknowns, as you say, about what actually happened and an investigation underway. If this was done, as Zuniga says, to boost the president's popularity, how do you think people in the country will be viewing it? Could the president's popularity actually be boosted by this?
Well, far be it from me to suggest that it was a staged thing, but it is an interesting sequence of events. Yes, I quite possibly so. We saw him standing on the balcony of the presidential palace, addressing the crowds who were all cheering, and certainly the confrontation between the two men in the presidential palace. The president was surrounded by people yelling at Zuniga to get out, that the people wouldn't allow him to take over, and so on. So, if Arce did want his image as the protector of the people against reactionary forces, well, this might do the trick.
Colin, just very quickly, is Bolivia a polarized society right now, and also within the politics?
Well, yes. I mean, in 2019, Morales engineered his re-election, which theoretically was unconstitutional, but he managed to get the Constitutional Court to okay his re-election. And this was followed by massive protests all over, and movements by the military again against him. And he eventually agreed to resign. And went into exile, and remained in exile for a year or so. And he was replaced temporarily by a senator, Janine Áñez, who's a right-wing politician, whose base really is in Santa Cruz in the east, which is the center of opposition to the ruling party. And is by far the most important economic center of the country. And of course, Bolivia is also ethnically very divided. I mean, actually, the majority of the population are indigenous peoples. So there have been lots and lots of social, racial tensions, which Morales did a fair bit to raise the status and the well-being of the indigenous majority in Bolivia during his period in office, but was also tainted by corruption charges and by his authoritarian manner, and eventually was forced out. So yes, we've got a very complicated situation.
Complicated situation indeed. Colin Harding, thanks for breaking that down for us, that failed coup in Bolivia. Appreciate your time.